Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Brogan, and this is another simple signal stream. We are actually on multiple platforms now, or two, on YouTube and Binance now, so hello to everyone on Binance. I've got a lot more windows to now keep open, so let me just manage myself here. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, so welcome back to the Simple Signal stream where I'll be looking over some coins, doing some TA, mainly updating because we've covered, we've covered a lot of coins so far on the list of streams we've already done. So on my list, what I've got today, obviously, if you have any coins you want me to look at today, do put it in the chat. There were some people who I think put some last stream I was on, I think when it was me and Mike. I think it was one was API free. I don't remember them all though. So if you are here again, do put them in the chat so I can remember, and I'll look at them after I look at everything else. But on my list today, what we have a look at, we have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Pyth, and Jupe. So we will see how the charts have progressed, I suppose, since our last stream or the last time I did some TA. I always start on CoinMarketCap to kind of see what the market's going through currently. I'm not going to put a time on the screen. I'm just kind of go at my own pace. I'm not tired like I was on Friday or anything like that. So I'm not going to try and keep it short or anything like that. I'm just going to go and stream however long it takes. But let me check some comments. So we've got Kishan is here, the goat. Kishan is here, the goat. Good evening, Mike and Bergen, the legends. You are more of a legend than anybody. Mohammed, great to see you, Mohammed. It's nice to see some more people become more common to the streams. It's nice to see you. My step coin drop. I can actually, I can actually look at step. I haven't looked at step yet. Put it on my list. Opening window is too loud. I think it's probably very loud. I might have to close that. Now let me go on to the other chat. There is Warmaster Kai. Master C, how are you doing? Sorry, I butchered your name then. How are you doing? I haven't streamed on Binance yet. This is my first Binance stream for Simple Signals because I never had it set up. I was using a completely different app and I couldn't multi-stream or anything like that. But now we are, we're able to stream on multiple platforms. Although I don't have access to the actual account, so I can't put any boxes or questionnaires. There'll be no quizzes or anything like that. It's just going to be me drawing and doing TA and talking to you guys. Again, it applies to you guys too. If you do have any coins, I might be a bit slower on reading Binance chat because there's a lot of people and I have to alt tab between multiple things. But if you do have any coins you want me to look at, also put it in the chat. You're not excluded or anything like that. Also check the descriptions out. Check the descriptions out wherever you're watching the stream from. If it's Binance or YouTube, there'll be some useful links down there. If this is your first time coming to the stream, welcome. Please do consider subscribing or following. There's a Telegram link. That's probably one of the most important things I could probably point out. The majority, quite a couple of you here have already, very common to the stream. So, obviously just watch the stream. But for the people who are new or, want to come in contact with me or Mike or whoever, do go check the Telegram out. There are other links in YouTube as well. So just go check them out. I can't talk too much about that. But yeah, so that is, I think, all I have to do there's a lot. I've got like a mental checklist of like 7 things I need to cover. But I think I've done it all now. But yeah, so I suppose we'll just get started. So have a quick look at CoinMarketCap just to see what percentages are going on. I don't look at the boring stuff like dominance. I just want to see the chart. I might have to close my window. I'll be 2 seconds. I'm gonna put it on the intro screen. I'm gonna close my window. Okay, I'm back. So there we go. So now there shouldn't be any noise or anything. Okay. There's a lot of things I need to keep updated. So yeah, just put any coins you want me to look at. Put it in. I think someone said API free. Actually, that's this. Someone said that last stream I was on. So we'll look at that at the end. There's a couple of things I need to look at, but I think the sooner we start, the sooner we can get through everything. So the CoinMarketCap, the percentages. Bitcoin, on the 7-day, it's acting like an altcoin at this rate. It's nearly 18% up in the 7-day. That is pretty crazy. 3.26% up for 24 hours. That's very, very quite heavy movement for Bitcoin. Obviously, we know what's been going on. We did draw some charts. I will gloat a bit about my charts for Bitcoins, as we get onto it in about a minute. But obviously that can, the time will come. Ethereum's up 4.45%. Yeah, everything's pretty much up. Obviously things range, but pretty much everything is up. Within at least the 24 hour and the 7-day. Obviously, 1 hour might vary. If we quickly look at what's going on in the 24 hour, anything I can recognise, which is actually something I want to point out considerable. I think I covered Arbitrum. Actually, you know what? That's another thing to add to my list. I think I covered that last stream as well. How many things do we have? We've got 8 things to look at now. Obviously, like I said, put whatever you want, whatever coins you want me to look at, I will look at them. I'm looking for one coin in particular, and if you have watched any of these areas, if you haven't watched any of these streams before, obviously, you know, quite a lot of you are common people to Simple Signal, especially people on YouTube. You will know my confidence with the market, and this is my personal thing. I do not advise you to at any point take this on, but I always look to 4chain to see, you know, that, you know, most people look at Bitcoin, and yes, that is how you start. And this is a joke, pretty much. This is pretty much a joke, so don't take it seriously. But obviously, you know, you should go look at Bitcoin. If you want to know what the market's doing, go look at Bitcoin. But for me, it's ThorChain. You know, if the market's going up, ThorChain's going up. And if the market's, you know, not really doing it too well, ThorChain will be going down. ThorChain's kind of a common, you know, a common theme throughout all the streams. I can't remember when the last time I looked at it, or the first time I meant to say, like streams, how many streams ago it was when we first looked at ThorChain, but it's kind of hold a certain place in my heart next to Jason and Kishan. It's, you know, within a little area of my heart. So this is ThorChain. So, but we are up. We're up 22.5%. I should, you know, at one stream, like the big shebang, I should actually go look at ThorChain in terms of the charts, because I've never once drawn TA for it. Or that might be a lie. I'm not too sure. I don't in my current conscious right now, I don't think I've ever looked at ThorChain in terms of on doing the TA on like TradingView. But if that's something you guys would want, then do put it in the comments. So let me go. I think we should just go straight on to the first chart. Actually, I need to look at what's going down. Jupiter. I think we wicked very close. Oops, what was that? I think we wicked down super close to 40 cent, but I don't think we've reached it just yet. Which I guess we'll go look at. Dimension, we covered that. When was that on the stream? Saturday, right? Yeah, we looked at that Saturday. I don't really think there's much else to be pointing out. Obviously, you know, when you start seeing, you know, stable coins within the losing area, especially on 24 hour, you know it's been going pretty well. Obviously, Monero, that's probably going down, especially because of, you know, the news which came out about it. Well, not the news about it, but as in the news which came out relating to Monero. But, you know, we're still quite open. We're still holding. So that's good. But I'm not really, you know, involved in that or anything. I think that's a music thing we mix. I don't really care. So I think we should just get on to why we're here. Oh, let me move some of the chart out of the way. Actually, I do. I want to see if I can get all the chats up in one go. It's really hard for me to switch between them all. So what I'm going to do, hold on, you bear with me here. It's quite hard to deal with everything right now. I've got a lot to look at. I don't know. Hold on. You think I'll be professional right now of how many streams we've done, but still, I'm still having to sort things out. Okay, now I can't see my camera. However, I can see both chats, so I think that's what really matters. So I can see YouTube and I can see Binance. Perfect. Actually, move that a bit. Okay, cool. So now I can see both chats at the same time. Perfect. I've got that sorted. So the first coin we're looking at is Bitcoin. Oh, I've messed it up again. There we go. Okay, so I think I drew. I can't remember what I drew. I can't remember what stream it was. I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday. But I drew the bullish flag. Or no, pennant. Sorry. It might have been on the 1 hour. I drew this. Obviously, we saw some resistance here. And this is obviously on the one. So obviously, you know, if we go to the 4 hour, the resistance we saw within this little area, within pretty much, you know, the 2 day, you know, it was basically the 11th to the 12th. 11th to today, actually. I don't know why I said 13. Okay, yeah. So basically, between yesterday and pretty much the middle start of today, obviously we saw some resistance. Obviously on the 4 hour, you might think, why are we seeing resistance? Obviously, with the help of one of the best indicators ever invented on TradingView is Simple Signal, which is Crypto Warehouse's indicator. So if you do want to go and, you know, grab yourself the best indicator ever created, you know, in history of mankind, do go to our Telegram. It will be linked there. Actually, it might be far back on the link. So if you do want this indicator, it's a simple support and resistance drawer, but it is so helpful. It helps me so much. So if you do want to go check it out, if you are, you know, a drawer, you know, a TA person, someone who draws TA themselves, you do want to check this out. It just makes things a bit easier. It just makes things a bit faster. You know, go, you know, drop a comment in Telegram and I'll paste a link to it. But, you know, you might think, why are we seeing this resistance on the 4 hour? You know, why are we not just completely going up to, you know, the 50K mark, which we did hit. Obviously, you know, I see. So I think some people said this. I think Jason, you said this, which it could very well do. Obviously, I'm always one to comment on the same thing which you said, Jason. I don't know if Jason said it actually, but you know, when you see these huge movements, you normally expect to see some sort of retractment at any point. I always try to think like that. Obviously, I mean, this was like a mini kind of area of like, what's the word for it? it was kind of a mini area of hoverage. We did start to go down, so it was kind of an area of, it wasn't a retracement per se, but it was kind of a hoverage point. And you might think on the 4 hour, why are we seeing this hoverage at this like price area? Pretty much at the cusp of 49,000, well actually 48,500. Well, on the 1 hour, you know, per some significance, we have a resistance point at 4875, which was basically where we were bouncing off here roughly. So obviously, you know, by the power of some significance, I call it black magic. I do call it black magic. Money flow of Bitcoin, absolutely, no, 100%. Obviously, if we zoom in right now, because you might think like, oh my god, we've been going up so much. And I always think this as well. As I've described, you know, market cipher so much. I always try to explain, or I don't really try to explain, but I've explained, you know, how each step of market cipher kind of works in terms of the VWAP being like a fast moving indicator. If it's going down, you're going to see, you know, negative or like red candles. If the momentum's going down, you're going to see your movement going downwards. Obviously, that might not be the trend, but the trend is where the money flow comes in. So the money flow, if it's going upwards, you're going to be having a positive trend. It's quite simple. If you have a positive money flow, which has a positive gradient and is, you know, having higher highs, let's say, or going up, you're in a positive trend. Again, you know, on the flip side, if you're going down and your money flow is either negative or, you know, coming down towards negative, then you are in a downtrend. So we can see it hasn't really displayed it too well here. We had this our money flow like kind of go down since about here. I mean, I don't really know if this is if I go from the top of where we saw here to like here. I mean, obviously I know for Bitcoin, you know, 0.78 is, you know, huge, but you know, we were slow. We were kind of just hovering because we had this really close support point at the bottom. So we can't, again, like I said, like, you know, market cipher will tell you what direction we're really going in and kind of how long for, but it doesn't really tell you how far we're going to go. Obviously, support and resistance and supply and demand, simple supply and demand will kind of tell you that. So, you know, for example, where we saw our money flow completely rocketing down, obviously we should be in this huge downtrend. We should be losing. Oh, we should have got to 30k. I saw a ridiculous photo actually on Twitter. It was some guy who said we were going to go to 30k. I don't know what his reasoning was, but it was like mad scientists drawing on the walls, where it's like, you know, in a one in a millionth opportunity, you know, the stars are going to align and it's working out all right. But you know, I don't think we're going down there. Obviously, I haven't done my thorough research to be fair. But you know, we'll get into it. But like I was saying, we were in the downtrend. However, we had this, you know, huge support point right below us, and I have pointed out this support point before, and 47,000, because of I explained this a bunch in our other streams, talking about when we had why 47,000 was such, or I think I was talking about it on Friday, why 47,000 for Bitcoin was such an important price point, because of the fact that we were in this ETF scenario where we had this, you know, varying price action and everything was going, you know, crazy because we had so much news and it was so external. You couldn't really chart it. However, the one consistent thing about all of it was how whenever we wicked up, obviously this is the 1 hour, so it's a bit harder to see. But on the 4 hour, it's perfect to see. Whenever we wicked above towards 50k, 48k, whatever it may be, 49k, we always retracted back to the 47,000 mark. So you could clearly see from this ETF scenario that 47,000 was such an important factor. I've said this on like 2 streams now, that once we crossed the 47 mark and printed above, one day, once we printed above 47,000, and we constantly wicked, you know, stayed above it. And again, on the other stream on Friday, I was explaining the fact that, you know, the difference between the ETF situation and now is that we had a constant slow progression upwards, where we were, you know, and how Mike likes to describe it in terms of going up ladders and going up the rings of ladders. You have to test below you to make sure you have support, or you know, you're safe. Obviously, I've kind of paraphrased that, you know, greatly. But in the scenario that you can't just have one wick going all the way up, you know, 10%, it's not sustainable in the slightest. However, this movement, we've seen, you know, we've wicked down, but we've continuously gone back upwards. So this is a structured movement upwards for Bitcoin. So, you know, it's not like in the other scenarios where we're going to wick all the way back down to 43,000. And I was saying with, in this scenario, we were wicking above 47,000. We didn't really have a structured movement upwards to actually stay above 47,000. Whereas now we have this structured movement, and we breezed past 47 like it was nothing. So, you know, for the fact that we breezed past it, and it was so, you know, it was such a considerable price point previously that we were going to keep it as support 100%. So I think it's going to be quite hard to actually break below 47,000. So I think we're in safe hands right now. You know, we're not in the sky or anything. I think we're standing on a cloud. You know, this magical cloud which is just, you know, keeping us up. you know, in the stars. Let me check quickly. Any entry on Bitcoin? Well, I'll have a quick look, see what price points. Obviously, we've got our inversion for 49,000, pretty much exactly, obviously, courtesy of some significance. But we also have this 2% padding, which I always like to look at. So 49,200 is going to be where we kind of see support. Obviously, I can go on the other time frames, but I'll try to find something. I'll give you an entry before the end of looking at Bitcoin. Let me largen that chat quickly. Okay, there we go. I try to keep everything structured because there's a lot of moving chats right now, especially with Binance. But again, like I said, obviously I think Mike is on the accounts, you know, saying put the tokens in the chat. Lycon, okay, I'll look at Lycon. I like to the chart. Oh, I like to the list, sorry. Okay, there we go. Problem is, I've closed my window. It's really hot in here. So I might have to open it again later through the stream. But back to Bitcoin. So as I was saying, so 47,000 is clearly a point of heavy support. So if we were to, but again, you know, before I get into that, or you know, to move past that, I've talked enough about that. We've already talked about it on like 2 streams now. What I am pointing out is the 1 hour. I think I drew this on Friday, that we had this bull pennant here to keep us going, where it was basically, a lot of people have been saying this, or different prices. We had this move upwards. Hopefully this draws the same width or length. There we go. It's roughly there. It's about $200 difference, whatever. It's basically the same. It's basically 51.5 is kind of where I have this this line upwards. And I saw Kishan, you were saying within the next couple of days, 52k. Absolutely, I think 52k. I think the $500 range, as in we have this little range of $500 between 52k and 51, and basically 51.5, where I see kind of Bitcoin going to as it's we've had this huge movement upwards. I think that's where we're going to see ourselves to slow down for Bitcoin in the high. But once we break 50,000, we print above it. That's going to be our next point for heavy support. As we can see, we are bouncing continuously off 50,000. It's just like going between $99 and $100 for Solana. 49,999 whatever for Bitcoin to 50,000 is ginormous, because that is another like not 10,000 difference, but is in the number, the 10,000th, whatever you call it, the 10,000th number, the 50 to 49.99. That number right there is so significant. It's big. It's really big. It's like going from double digits, triple digits. Like, seeing as though how long we've been below 50 whatever the hell, 50,000 whatever. This is going to be like, this is a turning point. So if we start printing above this, I think pretty much everyone's kind of agreeing the 52 to 51.5 range is kind of where we're going to see Bitcoin stop at. And if everyone agrees with it, it will become true, because obviously self-fulfilling prophecy, whether it be data-based or not. Same with a lot of indicators. If everyone was to look at the same indicator, everyone would have the same answer, which means the whole market would kind of preface the movement with their own investment, and then the market will move like that anyway. So it doesn't really matter. If everyone kind of thinks 52k, it's going to be roughly 52k before people might start selling whatever as a short-term profit before they maybe reinvest. Because if everyone expects it to stop at 52k, they'll sell out, which means it will stop at 52k and start to come down. But my point is, it will come down at about 52k to, hold on, let me get like a array going. About there, let's just, whatever, $5, it doesn't really matter. But as I was saying, 50,000 is going to be support. It's going to be support. If we consistently print above 50,000, I don't see it not being a support point. Like, it's 50,000, like it's huge. So that's kind of, obviously we're seeing, a bit of resistance here right now for Bitcoin. Let me go back on the 4 hour. Obviously we are seeing resistance there for Bitcoin at the 50,000 mark, which makes sense. I don't really think anyone should be really surprised at that. But looking at Market Cypher, I've yapped on enough about the simple price action. Let's kind of have a look at what's going on with the market sentiment. So our momentum is positive, which is bullish. That is good. We have a really heavy green, as Kishan pointed out, rightly so, a huge, heavy, thick green money flow going upwards. So money is coming into Bitcoin, which is great, as we can clearly see by a huge movement upwards for Bitcoin. And it is continuously going upwards. It has a positive gradient, which means money's still coming in, which means we're in a positive trend. So it seems that, even though we are hitting resistance here at this 50,000, we're still in a positive trend. So we still have what's it called? I don't know. There's many kind of words for it, I suppose. You know, we still have grounded on our feet to keep us going upwards to try and break 50,000. Because as soon as we break 50,000 and print above it, you know, maybe 2 or 3 times, then it doesn't really matter what trend we're in because we're going to be bouncing off 50,000. So I think the most important part right now is breaking above 50,000, because I think next from there is 51,000 in terms of our resistance. Obviously, because 51,000 is still around them, but it's still huge. So, I mean, but I think 50,000 is a lot bigger than anything else we're going to see currently in terms of what's keeping us, you know, below. Like going from 51 to 51.7 or 52, it's not going to be as hard as it is breaking from 49,990 to 50,000. But like I said, positive money flow, and we're on the 4-hour, so money flow kind of matters more than anything else. VWAP kind of points out what's going on if we're going down or we're going up, but since we're on the 4-hour, it doesn't really matter. So the VWAP, I'm going to kind of ignore that. It doesn't, you know, again, like I said, it can't. The VWAP prefaces the money flow. I mean, the momentum, which prefaces the money flow. So if VWAP and money and momentum are going down, expect the money flow to start coming down. But momentum's still going up, even though we're quite heavily overbought. But in the current situation we are with the Bitcoin movement, it doesn't really matter. Like I was pointing out over here, I think I talked about this on Friday as well. You know, it's very dangerous to invest when momentum is doing this right now, where momentum is, you know, is stagnant. You know, you should basically, when momentum is stagnant like this, but the price is continuously going up, you should basically ignore it and just look at money flow. You shouldn't look at VWAP or momentum. In this scenario, on the higher time frames, like the 4-hour, when the price is going, you know, just continuously going up like this, you should basically ignore situations where you have stagnant momentum. Because even though momentum was doing this, money flow is still going upwards. So again, it doesn't really matter. But again, like I said, we are oversold, but we're in this huge like bull rush upwards towards 52k. So all I'm going to go off right now is money flow, and money flow saying we're going up, which means I think Bitcoin's going to go up. So we just hit 50,000. We're probably going to come back down there, but you know, there it is. Entry point. I'd say look at 51. Hold on, let me redraw because I did adjust this. I'm gonna go. Wait, let's do 1 hour. I want to be as accurate as possible on this. Let's just go from the bottom of here to the top of here, and then go here. So it's about 51.5. So I've got 2 price points. Obviously, I've kind of adjusted a bit, but I want to be as accurate as possible. So I'm not going to lie to anybody here. Let's go for 4 hour. So 51,568 is kind of the price I see Bitcoin going to. Another thing I have actually forgotten to point out, we have this fair value gap here, basically at the midpoint of our support point. So basically, we can ignore this. We've got our fair value gap, where if we dip into it, we'll just come back upwards, and we can kind of see, you know, we had it. Let me make that a bit smaller. So even if our price, you know, does completely fall down, you know, a couple like $800, we're going to enter this fair value gap. Even if you didn't draw this fair value gap and use simple signals, the best indicator on TradingView, which is our indicator, then you would get the same answer, that we would just bounce off about 49,200 and go back up again. So we've got, you know, we've got stuff keeping us up. We've got a lot of things keeping us up. But I think 51,568 is where I look to short Bitcoin. In terms of entry, I don't like entering when we're in the middle of a movement, because things always go wrong for me. So you see, we're kind of between 47. We're pretty much, hold on, let me test this. Hold on, pause. Okay, so we're just a bit above the midpoint between this movement. So the movement is about 5%. We're about 1.3% up in this 5% movement. So we're closer to the midpoint than we are at the top where I see the price going to, or the price towards maybe it's a bit smaller. So it's let me try and get the measure tool. It always never works for me. I don't know what I've done, honestly. The measure tool never works. So the midpoint is here. So we have this 4.76%, you know, premium area, and we're not even at the midpoint of it yet. So you know, we're basically in the middle of our movement, going towards this you know, upper end. And I never really like investing into, you know, a movement when it's already half finished. I like to have a normal trade, a normal trend to trade in. So I would wait, and this is personal, I would wait for the price to go to 51,568, whatever it may be, within that area. Obviously, it's going to have a bit of a padding, maybe this much, like a padding, between, you know, 51,746 and 51.3. So within this area, we're going to start to see, you know, maybe a bit of a crab and then fall back downwards. I would look to short then. I mean, again, like I said, support's going to be really huge for at 50,000. So we don't really go down about 3% for Bitcoin. But I'd look for the entry. I'd look if you're doing futures, then obviously short at 50,000. But it depends. If you're just holding a Bitcoin and you want to sell or buy, I think I'd just sell. I wouldn't bother buying right now. Obviously, you can buy right now, but things could change. Things can happen. I would just wait for it to, I'd rather have 100% confidence that it would go down at that price at 51.5 than it's having, it going up or falling down at this point we're at right now at 50,000. So, yeah. Let me... All right, I'm back. My window swung open, and there was some bunch of people talking outside, so I want to close it. I don't know if it's swung open again. But anyway, what was I saying? I was back to the point. Oh yeah, so I'd rather look for a trade about 51, 51.6, wherever it may be. This kind of area. Obviously, like I said, there's going to be a bit of padding upwards and above this price point. So I'd rather look to short there than anything. But it seems like we're actually coming above 50,000 right now. So we'll see if I hold it. But I've yapped on about Bitcoin for far too long. But I think it's going to continue to go up, basically. How do I check? Okay, there we go. I've got quite a lot to cover through, so oops. I think I'll just move on. I think I did it on Mexi. Oops. I think I did it on this other place. There we go. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I don't really have a lot drawn on the upper end of things, but let me draw that quickly. There we go. So for Ethereum, we've gone up quite a bit, as you might notice. From what it looks like, if we might print out, okay, so if we do print out this area here, we'll have this fair value gap here, which we can enter back into and keep us as a kind of a support area. As we can see, we had higher highs here, and then we broke that down here. Where can I put it to? About here. So we broke it here, which is our structure shift, where we saw a huge movement back upwards. So we did have a market structure shift nearby our fair value gap. Move on, grass is growing on my toes. Yes, I'm on Ethereum now, don't worry. So we have a market structure shift and our fair value gap kind of couple next to each other, which is good to see. You kind of want to see a market structure shift right before or your basically fair value gap kind of prints out. So if this green wick stays to be green and we print out, what time will that print out? So this is 4 hours. So basically in about 3 hours, 3 hours and 10 minutes. So we're not really, so this is the 4 hour. So in a while, we'll hopefully see this fair value gap print out. If so, we'll have this midpoint at 25.85. Obviously that's the midpoint, but within this kind of area between, it's basically at 26. So basically if we enter towards the 26, we'll keep support there. I drew this here because this is kind of the midpoint we retracted back to twice. This was kind of in the same scenario Bitcoin had when it's with its ETF. Obviously, the price of pretty much everything went up because of how good the news was. But we continuously retracted back to 26.5. So I'm going to keep that as quite a heavy point of a heavy price point of resistance. And if Bitcoin, obviously Bitcoin's broken that, but obviously they're two different scenarios. But it is the fact that Bitcoin's nearing towards it going back downwards. It might be a similar scenario where Ethereum, by the time Ethereum gets to its previous high point at this area, where we retracted to multiple times during the ETF news, if we get to that point, we might get to that point at the same time Bitcoin reaches its high point of this movement. So we could see it bounce off of 26.5 and come back down. But obviously it depends on how fast we move upwards. We probably might see it, hover at this point before Bitcoin reaches its high point. But if we do break this, again, I think 27,000 will be our resistance point next. As we can see, there's 2 lines here. So I think there's 2 really nearby areas for Ethereum to fall below. So keeping it up, we've got our breaker block here. I don't know why it's bearish. Let's be bullish. There we go. Oh no, I was right. I'm changing all the charts. I need to go back to look at the context for everything. Put that back. There we go. So for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, we do have some support, which pretty significant support here. Actually, I think this is bullish, but I can't bother to change it. I don't care. But we do have support at about 25,000. Roughly over here. We're hovering at this area. Has a huge movement upwards. Obviously, Bitcoin doing its huge movement upwards. Everything's having a huge movement upwards. But again, I think we might retract towards it. What we probably could end up doing, maybe a little scenario of, let me get the pen out. A little scenario of like bouncing off this, maybe entering back into here and then coming back up again. Obviously, it depends how fast Bitcoin goes up to its supposed resistance point, where we might come back down to 50,000. Depends how long that takes. So it could either mean we have a bounce off it, come down to here, and then bounce up. Maybe it depends. I mean, obviously, we don't have enough. I don't have enough data to suggest we're going to break above this resistance point. We need to actually reach it to test it before I actually know anything. But we could either do something like that. We could break it, and then see it have the same scenario like that. But I do think we're not. I think the speed of Ethereum's rise, because it was 1. Is that today actually? Yeah. So it was 1 a.m. today. No, 1 p.m. today. It's had this huge movement upwards. So it's not. I think we're going to reach these resistance points before Bitcoin reaches its movement, its total movement. So I think we will see it bounce off one of these prices. Whether we break above this, I don't think we've had this huge movement for Ethereum. It's constantly gone green. Obviously, we retracted a bit here, but it's constantly gone green. So I don't really think we're going to see. It's quite a substantial, quick movement upwards, and we haven't really tested below us too much. So I think in a similar scenario, we had our wick downwards on this one. We might have a wick downwards on this one. Now, equaling out the length or the height, of it, it might reach towards the midpoint. Actually, let me make sure this is accurate. So we have this here. It actually reached. So the amount we tested down below for this candle is, if we made it equal on this candle, which we're currently trying to print out right now, if we did retract down towards here, we will see ourselves go towards the equilibrium point, which is normally how the fair value gap works out anyway. So I think we might bounce off this, enter back into the fair value gap, and go back upwards again. Obviously, fair value gaps aren't be all end all. No one's financial advice. I forgot to preface that as well. Fair value gap isn't be all end all. It could just ignore it. But this is a 3 candle structure for the fair value gap plus the market structure shift. So it kind of has this the criteria for it to be in a fair value gap, which we will stay within. So that's it for Ethereum. Hopefully you can see the prices here. We've got about 26.90 for this upper end resistance where we saw our max candle go to, but the current resistance, which I see us hitting to, is 26.5. Obviously, our 4-hour candle, we still have about 3 hours left of the 4-hour candle, so we could actually maybe even break above this within the 4 hours. But obviously, time will tell. But I think we're going to see some movement downwards soon for Ethereum. That's all I'll say for Ethereum. I do want to quickly go back to Bitcoin. I don't know what's really going on with it. I don't know if we're staying above 50,000. Seems like we're staying a bit above it. Obviously, we wicked above here. I don't know how fast that wick was. That's the thing. I wasn't watching back then. But it doesn't matter regardless. I do want to quickly look at Solana. I think it went to 100. I think it went to one of my price points. Aha. Okay. Well, it actually, to be fair, we had this fair value gap. It seemed like we entered it. We entered it here and then coming all the way back down. Obviously, we have our order block, which we've already crossed into, which I can now make into this because we had our liquidity sweep upwards. We didn't actually. No, we had it here. Here we go. Yeah. So I'll kind of explain why I think this is a bullish breaker block. So we had our movement upwards, and then we entered back into it, and then we came back up. So this is clearly now going to be a support area. So yes, Litecoin 3. Yes, I've already put it on the list already. So yeah, so this is bullish breaker block. So we're going to keep this as support. As we can see, we've already tested it once here. But breaker blocks, you know, they give quite a bit of a sweep upwards when we enter it. As we can see, obviously this is related to something else going on. Obviously Bitcoin's going upwards pretty high, and you know, I think this was within the time Bitcoin broke out of its, you know, resistance point and continued to go up towards 50k. I'm not ignoring us or ignoring you. I'm not ignoring you. I already said at the start of the stream I'm doing Litecoin. You're ignoring me. Yeah, see, I twisted the tables there. Trying to make out like I'm ignoring you. No, you're ignoring me. I already have Litecoin. You know what, I could probably pull up the list. Actually, I can't bother, but trust me, there's a list. There's like 9 things on the list, and Litecoin's on there. Don't worry. So for Solana, we have, I don't know, I've just done that. We have our resistance point at 100, nearly 111 for Solana, which we've already bounced off of once, which coincide with this rough fair value gap area, where we had our shift here between here and actually let's not do that. Let's do it like this. There we go. So obviously we had our structure shift where we had lower, you know, lower highs. You know, we kind of went like boom, and then boom, and then we continue, and then we start to go back upwards, and then we broke our previous high with these candles, and then obviously our fair value gap is here. So, you know, and respecting that, obviously fair value gaps can last for quite a while. I thought this would happen sooner because of the news which came out, but obviously, as I said live during the moment where the news came out, I said even no news will be bad news when the whole market expects there to be positive news. And obviously there was no news, so we did a complete opposite. And I already pointed this out on stream. The equality between this price movement and this price movement, look, 8.5, nearly 8.5. So this was an equal movement upwards and downwards. So that's how I love seeing this. This was an equal movement. This was a one-to-one movement between these areas. Like, I bet if I put this in the midpoint here and go to the top, I bet it give you a ratio of 1-to-1. There you go. See, it was 1.02. This was a one-to-one movement between giving positive news and giving bad news, and giving no news. So that is perfect. I'm leaving that drawing there forever. I'm going to frame that and put it on my wall next to me because that was very nice to draw. But regardless, I expected this movement to fair value gap to happen previously, but it only happened now, or you know, like 2 days ago. And obviously we came down all the way down to our support point. Or we came within the breaker block. There's multiple, you know, if I didn't have the breaker block there, I would say it went to support, and it did go to support. It bounced beautifully off support because this indicator is just so perfect. But if I didn't have support there, I'd say we're going to enter within this breaker block and kind of keep within here. Obviously, it varies between where you bounce off of and whatnot, but the general idea, like if you draw arrows, if you drew a path arrow, you know, it's like we bounce into the breaker block area and we bounce back upwards. Doesn't really matter how far you wick because you still went back upwards. Again, but if Bitcoin, and I've need to say this before I continue to talk because we're hovering above and below our resistance point. If Bitcoin prints and stays above the 50,000 mark, everything's going to start to get more excited and probably break up. That's why I said with Ethereum, we could actually see it break above, within this 4-hour candle, break above the resistance points, or points possibly, of what I pointed out earlier, just then. So same scenario with Solana. If Bitcoin stays above, then we'll probably see ourselves break 1-on-1 and go towards. I drew this resistance point, or this resistance price point, like maybe Monday, possibly. I'm not too sure. I drew it quite a while ago though. You know, Kishan or someone, you'll probably know which stream. Obviously, he's such an avid, brilliant viewer of the channel. I can't remember where I drew this. 115, basically, the price point, 114.5. I think a couple of people said this. I know Mike was saying 125. You know, funnily enough, you know, the simple significance, the best indicator on TradingView, has drawn this for me. So I didn't even have to look for 125. It already was there. But I found big resistance point up at this price point between 123 and 125. So yeah, I do agree with this being resistance. You know, I always like to see other people's opinion. You know, obviously it's easy when you have 2 people in like a group kind of talking about the same things, that you get confidence within your little area. So I think I forgot to look at market cipher for Ethereum, so oh well. But 4-hour market cipher for Solana, have a quick look. We're in a bit of a rough area. It's very poorly. The current movement for Solana is very poorly reciprocated on the market side for B. Let me have a quick sip of water. I say this every time, my throat is always just gets really dry, speaking so much greatness. There we go. So we can see, and this is pretty good actually, that we had we had a perfect scenario here of, I don't know why I did that, there we go, of a anchor trigger wave. I haven't actually looked at this in quite a while for the charts, but it seems like it's here, where you have, it's easy to draw it, it's easier when you smooth it out. So you have a wave here, a wave in the middle, and a really small wave here. And then within this, scenario, you go from the top of this wave roughly towards the top of this wave, and this is kind of the structure. You have a big wave, and a really tiny one, and then if it's like this, obviously going upwards from a, obviously it's quite hard to tell because market cipher is kind of a flip. Obviously there's a positive and negative area, a higher high, I suppose, higher low, whatever this may be. This is technically a low, so a higher low, so it would be bullish, and it is bullish. This is a bullish anchor trigger wave. Obviously, if it was a different scenario. Let me delete this quickly. Let me go see if I can quickly find a scenario. You could probably argue somewhere within this area there might be one, maybe over here. Obviously, we had heavy support, so it didn't really matter. But we do have an anchor trigger wave suggesting positive movement, which is great, but more considerable. And this is where things get tricky. And like I said, with Bitcoin, when prices move in this huge trend which isn't properly represented within like market cipher, I like to ignore most things other than money flow, especially since we're on the 4 hour. And as we can see, we do have quickly, rapidly rising positive money flow and quite a heavy gradient upwards. So we're in a very heavy bullish trend for Solana. So even though we are at resistance, we're still positive. Like I said with Bitcoin, market cipher tells you kind of roughly what obviously it's not like 100% tells you, but it suggests you what direction we're going in. It doesn't tell you how far we're going. Obviously, support, like I said, support and resistance kind of suggests that. That's where you find where you're going to go to. So obviously, within the support and resistance, we're at the top resistance point, which is very hard to break above. But we are still bullish. Hasn't really deterred us too badly. And our VWAP is very heavily positive. So that is, I'm really quite bullish on Solana right now, especially if Bitcoin holds. If Bitcoin holds, we're going to pretty much break everything I'm talking about. So all these resistance points I'm talking about, we're going to pretty much break them if Bitcoin stays above 50,000. Because that is just, when we confirm above 50,000 and we're confirming, let's say we're hovering at 50,000 and we're continuously bouncing off support at 50,000, going towards 51.7, then we're just going to completely just rocket upwards and break this resistance point. But, like I said, I mean, 115, it depends how fast Solana goes in terms of its ratio between Bitcoin and, in terms of the ratio, because whenever Bitcoin goes up, I like to look at meme coins because the ratio in terms of percentage, due to how small the price may be in the market cap, you have bigger movements, make bigger profits. So the ratio between Bitcoin and Solana, I actually don't know. Obviously, there's probably a specific number, I don't know it. I don't know what the ratio is in terms of if Bitcoin moves so heavily, how, does Solana move and how heavy does it move? I don't know if it means we'll break 115. I don't know if we'll have enough, momentum spur on by Bitcoin going really, breaking all these expectations. Will it spur us on to break 115? Who knows? But if we do break that, in the scenario that we do, resistance being 125. 125 resistance, I think that's a very good resistance point. I'm very confident in that resistance point. 115, it was only really one price point, maybe two. You can count back here. If I draw it along a bit, you can see, why is it not shifting? There we go. We can see, we kind of had it here, maybe we entered it within this wick. Obviously, resistance points and support points, I always like to draw squares because they're kind of an area upwards and downwards. So if we kind of draw this, we can see, we wicked into it, went down, we were in it here and went down, in it here and went down. So 115 is consistently a price point which we've fallen either above or below, but it's not really too strong. So we might break it quite easily, but the movement between, we've got a $10 movement between 115 and 125. Will we have that movement for Solana? It's quite heavy. I'm not too sure about that, but we'll see, I suppose. But I'm still bullish on Solana. I think a lot of things are 50-50 right now for whether Bitcoin stays above. Like I keep on saying on and again, a lot of things are quite determinant on whether Bitcoin, you know, stays above 50,000, goes towards its resistance point or not. I'm going to be a lot faster now because we've only done 3 coins, and I think I'm like 40 minutes into the stream or something. So I'm going to quickly look at Pyth. Health like a type. I'm not too sure there. There we go. Okay. Oops, I didn't do that either. Okay, I think I did it on the 1 hour. Again, I think I had like a bit of an what's the word for it? I had it last stream on Friday. I completely forgot what I even drawn, but I tried my best to try and understand what I did. Again, for some reason I've forgotten again what I said. I can't remember what I said for Pyth. I don't know if I drew this fair value gap. I don't know how long ago I did any of this. So there we go. So it was about 9 o'clock. So we're about here. So, okay, so I must have drew this. I must have drew this quite a while ago though. We obviously broke this resistance point, which was great. We're just in a range. I don't really know what to say. I do want to keep it quick. We're in a range. If Bitcoin stays above, which we might do, we might break above the 58 cent range, going towards the 60 cent range. Obviously, we weighted quite heavily to 60 cent. No, I just did then. But yeah, I mean, I think because why I like Pyth is it seems to follow Bitcoin's actions pretty well. Obviously, you know, right now it does not really following, but whenever when I was trading it properly, whenever Bitcoin was going up pretty well, Pyth was going pretty well. When Bitcoin was going down, you know, pretty consistently, Pyth was going down pretty consistently, and it followed Bitcoin's action pretty well. So you know, that's all I'll say. But right now we're in a range, so it's quite hard to follow. You know, all Bitcoin's doing is this. Like, it's quite hard to follow that when you're in the range. So I suppose, I mean, it's just hovering. We're in a range. There's not much more to say. I don't know what you want to say. I can quickly draw, you know, premium discount, and we can clearly see our EMA point is directly at this midpoint here. So we are obviously in a I've just deleted the best indicator in the world. I didn't mean to do that. How rude of me. Obviously, in a normal scenario, I'd say, you know, we're in a premium right now. Look towards going towards 57.3 and look for a short. You know, but you know, currently, like I said, just like 2 minutes ago, if Bitcoin stays above 50,000 and prints above it and uses it as support, we're gonna have everything pretty much break expectations. You know, Pyth's gonna break its 58 cent mark. Ethereum's gonna break its 26.50, I think was the resistance point. Solana's gonna break its. Oh my god, I've like short-term memories. I've completely forgotten. I've just completely forgotten what I just said. I think it was like 111. I think it was. So resistance point 111 will break that pretty easily if Bitcoin stays above 50,000, uses its support, like I said, and so will Pyth. But you know, I'm not really gonna look at it too much. I don't really care too much. What I do care about is looking at Dupe because it's not doing much. But I do want to check up. Actually, I don't think. I can't remember if I drew it. Yeah, okay, I did. Let me go to 4 hour quickly. Okay, we got pretty close. So I did say within here. I think I said it last stream. Let me zoom out quickly. There we go. So we had this flag, not flag, a pennant. I should probably say we had this pennant, a bear pennant. It's pretty roughly drawn. I think Mike drew this one actually. I'm not installing this TA or anything. I can't remember what platform I did it on. I don't think I did it on Binance. I'm not sure. I might have did it here. But I'll use this anyway. It's here. So basically, I said the 40 cent range will be where we go to for Dupe. We went to the 43 cent range, and then we bounced back upwards. Obviously, everything's kind of going upwards. But even everything is going upwards, Dupe has just been doing this. So even if it has been going upwards, Dupe hasn't been following it. So I'd like to say everything's going up, Dupe's going up also. But we haven't been following, you know, what the whole market's doing. So it doesn't really matter what the market's doing because Dupe isn't following it. We do have these this trend here, these lower highs. Let me draw this quickly. There we go. So obviously, we bounced off it here at the 54.50 range or area, pretty much here. You know, about 5 o'clock yesterday, I believe. I was, yeah. So if we do respect this line, which we probably should, I mean, I think Dupe's kind of its own world right now. We do have this as well. We kind of have, we're basically in a downward trend, which, I mean, it's quite easy to tell. You know, if we just zoom out and look, we can clearly see we're in a downward trend. Probably a downward trend going towards 40 cent. Obviously, you know, if we're in a downward trend, we're going towards, you know, we're going towards pretty much anything. But you know, if we go towards it, maybe you know Friday this week, sorry, actually, you know, we would see it, but we'd probably just bounce within this area. Obviously, probably have midpoints within it. Obviously, like I said, we had this kind of pennant kind of situation going on here, so we didn't directly bounce off of the lower end of our trend, but we can have scenarios within this range which will either you know keep us just a slight bit away from meeting the bottom of the trend or meeting the top of the trend. So for example, we just bounced off the bottom of the trend and went back upwards, but you know we're inbound for 40 cent. That's all I say. I mean, Mike did a different drawing on a different time frame and it pointed towards 40 cent. I've done my pennant, it points towards 40 cent. We're in a downwards trend which eventually will meet 40 cent. So, you know, I don't really see there being much argument against it, especially like I said, from the fact that you know, even though the market's going up so much, Jupe isn't respecting the fact that the whole market's going up. Obviously, I know it's its own entity. You know, we've talked about this, you know, a lot in terms of where we can see the price going into for Jupe. If it reaches the same market cap for Uniswap, for example, there's a lot of positivity in terms of the future for Jupe. I think it is amazing. I think getting in right now, even if you know, aiming towards the 40 cent range, if you can aim towards getting in it cheaper, that's always, you know, great. But I definitely think this is something to hold on to. No matter what price you buy at right now, obviously your profits will differ depending on if you buy at 50 cent or 40 cent. But regardless of where you buy right now, if you play the long game, which is why you should buy, you know, I wouldn't, obviously you could short and long, but it's quite hard to tell. Obviously we're in a trend. So for example, you know, I would short right now, let's say, not financial advice, but I would rather play the long game for Jupe because it's so promising. I would just buy it, ignore it. I just buy it and put it on the back burner, and kind of ignore it and just do your other things, because it's gonna blow. That's all I'm saying. Not financial advice. I'm not affiliated. I'm not sponsored. I'm just a enthusiast of Jupe. But that's regardless. So we're gonna look at Step now. I did actually draw a chart for Step when we did. When did I draw it? It must have been here, right? I did draw a chart. Did I draw a chart? I must have drawn a chart. Drew a chart, I mean. I think I drew. I mean, I must have drawn a chart. Clearly, I can't find it. I mean, we can quickly look at it anyway. But like I said, I thought I drew a chart. We're in a range. I mean, clearly, I'm just stating the obvious here. We've bounced off the nearly 6.2 cent range, or 6.2 cent. You know, 6.2 cent to 4% padded area. This kind of box of sell or supply, I suppose. And then we have our 5.2 cent demand. So it's kind of a 1 cent demand area. So obviously, if we do our percentages, it's about 17%. Obviously, the price is quite low. We're at 5.5%. But like I said previously with Bitcoin, we're similar with how Bitcoin was just above the equilibrium point. We're kind of in the middle of a movement for steps. So if I was to trade this, I would probably wait for it to come back towards 5.3 cent or 5.29 cent, and then look for a long then. Obviously, always bearing in mind, I always like to look at the 21-day EMA. We do have a grey 21-day EMA, so it is quite bearish, suggesting, you know, we're consistently bouncing off it, consistently having this slow decline down. We're heavily oversold, and we do have a negative VWAP, but we do have our money flow is consistently going down, so we're in a very negative trend, coming from a very high money flow. And I always like to point out, whether you use the analogy of holding a balloon down below water and letting it go and it's just flying up, it's sort of a similar scenario of this, where you have such a high money flow, for it to start falling down again, you know, it's going to be quite, you know, it's going to be quite a large fall downwards. Obviously, you know, seeing as though Step is quite cheap, the movements it's going to be having are going to be huge. So yeah. And I bought. Hold on, let me look. Okay, I had my beard. I had my bottle empty and my throat is completely dry, and I just want to get a quick drink. But going back to Step, you know, it is a hard job doing this. You know, I'm not. Well, no, there's obviously definitely harder jobs, but God, just speaking so much. But anyway, going back to Kishan's thing, there's like a like button in the way. I can't really see. I bought a few Step and Sol. What price did you buy it at? I can't remember when did we do the stream? It was like, I think it was a Wednesday. I think it was the week before last. So that would be, so that was Wednesday then. Right. So this was, I think we did it a Wednesday. It must have been the 1st of Jan. So it was about here. So we had this huge movement upwards. Obviously we haven't done TA since, when did we do, it wasn't Wednesday, wasn't Wednesday last week, was it? Let's check. Well, even if it was Wednesday last week, we had movements upwards. So, you know, Wednesday last week, we did it in the afternoon. So it was actually at its lowest point. So if you bought it, you know, Wednesday last week, or no, week before, I think we did it 1st of January. We were actually at the lowest point we saw pretty much, and then we had this. Let me get the measure to come on. The measure tool never works. There we go. And then we had a 22% move up, which was pretty good for just buying something. Obviously, we had a huge sell-off. Obviously, we didn't do TA since then. But it was last week, so I don't think it was last week. I don't remember it being last week. I don't remember it that soon. It would still have been like a 15% move upwards in total. Obviously, we retracted back downwards. But you know, if you looked at simple signals, obviously it would have told you we had support a resistance point at this price point here. So yeah, but you know, hopefully you made profit. I don't know. And you bought Sol. Well, if the market's moving upwards, don't worry, you're gonna make profit. You're gonna make profit, even if you buy it right now and ignore it. No matter what point, at some point in history, you're going to be making profit, especially with Solana. Like a lot of things are very promising in terms of how far they're going to be going upwards. So you know, I wouldn't have an issue with either of these. But you know, if you are at a loss and you don't want to sell just yet, which is, you know, I don't know when you bought. If you bought on the stream or not, I'm not too sure. We're probably going to do something like this for Step, because even though the whole market's going up, similar with Dupe, we're still going down. So it's not respecting the trend of the market, which is fine. That means it's doing its own thing. So if it's doing its own thing, it should respect its own support and resistance even further, which means I think we're going to bounce off of 53.5, come back up towards 6 cents. So I'd probably sell at 6 cents, which is roughly where we saw previously. Obviously, like I said, it depends on where you bought Step. So yeah, but that is Step. I think we're in the 17% range. I'd look to long pretty soon, maybe at the 5.4 cent range, maybe 5.5, 5.5, and go upwards. Obviously, we're quite, and what's pointing me out that we're going to be going up pretty soon is we're heavily oversold. We have our VWAP going downwards, but probably maybe starting to round out. The good thing about VWAP still going downwards is the fact that we still have more downwards potential in us, which means we should meet our support point. It's not like we're just gonna, you know, we're not just gonna just go downwards and then just randomly move upwards at any point before we hit our support point. You know, what the VWAP going downwards is suggesting to me is that we still have some downwards movement in us before we start to go back upwards towards our resistance point. So if you do want to look for a long pretty soon on Step, I don't know where you can long Step, then, you know, I would look towards 5.3 cents. If you bought, again, like I said, I don't know when you bought, but you know, if you have it right now and you want to sell it, I would wait to see it bounce off its support point, and go towards resistance if you do want to, you know, squeeze as much money out. But again, like I said, depends when you bought it. If you bought it when we did, I think we did off. I don't know. I can't remember when we did that stream exactly, but it depends on when if you looked and bought on the stream or any point in between. Obviously, it depends where the price was. But again, yeah, I think that's where Step is. There's not really much. It's not really too complicated in terms of its movement. You know, there's not really much for me to say. There's not like a red pill, blue pill situation. I just think we're going to go towards its support and bounce off it and go towards our resistance. That's pretty much it. So, rocketing through these coins right now, we have 3 left. Again, like I said, I'm here. I'm not tired like Friday, so you know, I don't want to go right now. I don't really, you know, I just want to cover as much as I can. So if you do have any more coins you want me to look at, please do put it in the comments. If I did miss it, then you know, just put it again, because especially if you're in Binance, because the chat rolls pretty fast. So just put it again if I missed it. But yeah, so I think we're going to look at API 3 now. I hadn't looked at API 3, but I think someone said it last stream, I think on Saturday. So only like not too long ago. It's not looking very good though. I've had I always like to have a quick glance before, just so I know what I'm getting into, and I can see 4 things which don't look too promising. Not too promising, but as in we're going to go down. But we do have support point at high level. What's concerning to me though is we don't have any resistance. So I don't know how heavy this is. I don't think this is going to be a heavy support point. I don't know. Let's get into it. I don't know why I'm questioning things. I hadn't even looked at the chart pretty much. Quickly, what I'm noticing with Market Cipher, we're basically at the 100 mark for our. Why does it say 60 there? Oh, that's a line. Okay, we're basically, if we go up, we can see 94 is our dot, and we can see we have a 90, but we're basically at the 94 out of 100. It's like it's not really. It's basically, I always say this. It's an arbitrary number. It's kind of a scale. The 0 line is we're not too oversold, we're not too overbought. Going the closer we get to 100, the more overbought we are. Getting closer to a minus 100, the more oversold we are. So we're heavily overbought for API 3. We're super, and we've had a red dot, so we've crossed, and we had another red dot here, which is suggesting that we're at a resistance point. And we have a red diamond. It's basically in the same thing. Red diamond that we should be going down now. VWAP is a negative and going down, and our money flow is red and is going down. So there's so many things suggesting going. So Market Cipher, every single section of Market Cipher is suggesting that we're going to go down. Now, so I've already covered that we're going down. It only now matters where we're going down to, or how far we're going down to. So we can see 3.485 is our closest support level we have for API 3. We're at 3.665. I think top left we have the price point for the current, obviously the current chart. I wasn't able to get the time up; it wasn't working. But we're on the 4 hour, so this is respective wherever you are. But in terms of going down to our next support point, because I've already established we're going down. It could be a 4%, a roughly a 5% move downwards. I don't know how strong this is. I mean, it seems pretty strong as resistance, also resistance support point. In the theoretical, we might go down to about 3.2. We'd have a 10.5 to about a 12.5% move downwards. Again, though, similar with Solana and Ethereum, because Bitcoin's been going up constantly now for ages. However, we saw with the Ethereum and Solana charts, we had about 3 wicks upwards of heavy movement, of heavy bullish movement. So it's obviously the pattern of a 3-wick movement upwards, a heavy movement upwards, is clearly a pattern to suggest to us that it's following the market sentiment. So with Ethereum, Solana, they obviously follow the market sentiment because they're big coins. They kind of follow with the pack. And both those coins had the scenario of 3 big wick upwards. And in this scenario, we can see we have, and it was within today, we have these big, maybe 1, 2, 3, I suppose you could say, maybe like 1, 2, 3. We've had big wick upwards for API 3, so it seems to be following the market trend. And what that suggests to me is if Bitcoin, again, like I said, similar with Solana and Ethereum, if it prints above the 50,000 mark and it stays up there and whatnot, like I said, with all these other coins, we will have bullish movement. So it's a bit shaky waters if we do stick with Market Cipher and normal chart patterns and indicators, or if we go with the normal bullish market movement that Bitcoin's going to bring to the table. So in a normal scenario, I would 100%, not financial advice, I would be shorting wherever I can with API 3, because this is just clear and cut. It's either going to be a 5% or a 10% move downwards. It's your choice. So I'd probably put a 10x in, get a 0.5x for my money, or 1.5x my money, obviously, whatever. But that is, again, that's not financial advice. Number 2, with this scenario with Bitcoin, we are going upwards. So breaking above 50,000 and staying there might give us another bullish push upwards. So we might come back to the 3.8 mark for API 3, about here. That's only really a 3.7% move upwards. So obviously, It depends what's multiplication, or it depends what what's the word for it? What's the name slipped my mind? It depends if you leverage trade or not. But if you were to short, that is a long. There we go. If you were to short from currently right now, you'd probably get like a one. I think it's about a 1-to-1 roughly. Yeah. So if you were to go to the 2% mark, I always like to look at the 2% mark, because what we always say on the channel, and what pretty much everyone says, is whenever you look at support and resistance, always kind of do it a bit before. And that's what I love so much about simple significance, is that obviously it's nothing like groundbreaking. It doesn't change the world, but it automatically adds these percentage boundaries within the resistance and support points. So you don't have to go looking at, okay, what's 2% of here. You can already go look at this price point area and kind of see this 2% range of the price point. So I'm going based off of the 2% area, which is, you kind of want to do it, you kind of want to front run the support or resistance point. So with this scenario, you have a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio. If it doesn't go like this, it will be a 36.2% move upwards. You will, or if you do a 10x, let's say, or it doesn't really matter. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. So depending on how you want to trade that, you can. But this is going up as a scenario that Bitcoin goes up, but with the fact that market cipher is completely negative. Yes, Tariq. Hopefully, I don't know if Tariq has the sound muted or not, but I've said twice now. I said at the start of the stream and middle of the stream when you were dissing me. I already have added it to the list. It's already on the list. I've already said I've added it to the list, but clearly it hasn't crossed through or anything like that. So I don't know what I can't say it much louder. But I am looking at that Litecoin. Don't worry, I am looking at Litecoin. On my heart, I'm looking at Litecoin. But like I was saying with API free, I can't remember who suggested it in the chat on Saturday, but they did. I think there's about a 1-to-1. There's a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio short here for API free. Like I said, in any normal scenario where Bitcoin wasn't having this big tear towards 51.7, then I would completely just short it. And then to me, it was only really a matter of how far it would go down. Would it retract all the way back down to here, or would we maybe go to the 3.434 mark? Where do we go to? But again, like I said, just do bear in mind, it depends. And I can't look to the skies to know where Bitcoin's going to go. So it's quite hard for me to suggest what you should do, not financial advice, with what I'm saying right now, based on the fact that Bitcoin needs to know what it's doing before I know what it's doing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but that's kind of what I think API 3 is doing. So, it's going to go down, but it might go up a bit more before it goes down due to the fact that Bitcoin might have it. Bitcoin is going to go to 51.7. Not financial advice, not confirmed. But what this might mean for API 3 is that it might go back to, it might go back up another 3.6. It might go back to the previous point we're at 3.8 before we come all the way back down. So you could wait before and put a short in at 3.8. And then wait for it to go down to the 3.535 mark. So it's your choice. I will probably post some screenshots on Telegram, keeping us updated maybe tomorrow or when I wake up. Kind of keep this. I think this is quite promising. If you can enter this, let's say it does go back to 3.8 and then things start to go down. That is a nearly an 8% move downwards without any multiplication. So if you do leverage, a small amount of leverage, like a 10x, let's say, that's 80%. That's nearly a double. You nearly doubled your money there. Obviously, even if you were to buy the coin, or if you were to short with, no leverage, you still get 8% out of it, which is, still pretty decent for the fact that you're using no leverage. But yeah, I think this is pretty promising to look for a long or a short or whatever you may do. Or if you hold it a bit more before you sell. Any chance you can look at AVAX? Yeah, I can look at AVAX. Okay, yeah, but that's it for this for API 3. I'm gonna move on now. I've been yapping now. So I have 3 more things on the list. I have Arbitrum. I've already covered this, but I'm going to give an update. I think someone said on Saturday, didn't want to look. I think I looked at it on Saturday, but I'll just give a quick update. Litecoin, which Tariq has wanted, and yes, I am covering Litecoin. I've just said it again, Tariq, so hopefully you haven't muted the chat. And I'm looking at AVAX just now from who suggested it. Let me go find his name. dogs and cats. So dogs and cats wanted me to look at AVAX. I will look at AVAX after I look at those two. So ARB. It always just like messes up the chat or the text box here. I can't remember. I think I looked at it here or on here. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so what did I say? Okay, so I got it wrong. Obviously, Bitcoin's been breaking everything, so I'm not surprised. I did, like I said, I did preface this when I think I might have prefaced this when I drew that it should go down, but I did say that Bitcoin was having this movement upwards, so things might not go as planned. And I have tried to preface that on pretty much everything I've said. I've always tried to give the scenario if Bitcoin, I tried to give both scenarios of if Bitcoin doesn't go to where we think it's going to go to and it comes back down, or if it does go to where it goes to, because Bitcoin is still a huge providing factor. And the fact that Bitcoin's breaking all these price points and it's continuously going up, I'm not surprised all these things are going up. And we've seen this with Ethereum, Solana as well. This 3-candle movement upwards. We saw this with Ethereum, API 3, Solana, and now Arbitrum. It's pretty consistent with the fact that Bitcoin's been going up and all these other coins have done the exact same movement. But this movement has meant that we have gone up. Obviously, if it hadn't had this 3-candle movement, we see that it actually did start to go downwards. But obviously, all these, with Bitcoin going to 50k, because I can almost guarantee that 1 o'clock today, Bitcoin reached roughly 50k. Okay, let me try to back myself up here. I don't know, but I'm gonna go check. So about 1 p.m. Where is it? This is on the 4 hour. Okay, so basically, okay, I lied. It didn't, but it nearly did. Maybe it was a lag period. Okay, look, we bounced off of 49. We bounced off 49. So clearly, things are going on. There's some voodoo going on. But basically, it was pretty high, and that's pretty much why everything has been going upwards. But like I said, if Bitcoin, if the market or if ARB wasn't following like everything else has been doing, we wouldn't have had this positive movement upwards, and our movement, instead of it being downwards from here, it would have been just downwards from here, and it probably would have been a bit of a lag period like that. But still, it would have followed the same process. I always say this. I always say this when I draw charts with paths like this. I always say that there's always that whatever I draw on the screen, it isn't time sensitive. This isn't 1-to-1 time ratio. I don't have a time machine where I can tell. But this is the general movement I see, and I was going there, but obviously with what's been going on with the market, it's just going upwards. So it has invalidated what I said. So I'm just going to delete it all. As sad as it is. However, where did I draw this from? Was this a fair value gap? I don't even know why I drew this. I think it might have been... it was just a resistance point, I think. But oh no, there's a fair value, apparently. I don't know what's going on here. I'm just going to delete it, though. Let me delete all this, because it's wrong. But with where ARB is going. So, the update, it didn't happen. Sorry. I did preface it, though. However, what can happen now? Well, we can go back to see where have we seen previous points. Well, we can see a order block here. Square, here we go. Or kind of this area of an order block is basically a 2 equal candle of equal movement. So you have an equal movement upwards of an equal movement downwards. So we can see with the candle here, we had just an equal movement green wick or green candle as we did with a red candle. Normally you bounce off it, but we haven't. But it might be a consistent resistant point, which we have seen. That is poetic. Wow, that is just poetic. Look at that. That is brilliant. So we can see we've clearly bounced off it, clear and cut, and that's why I'm called. Do you know what? Words are slipping my mind tonight. Let me pretend like I need water so I can remember the word before I finish. The Oracle. That's why they call me the Oracle, because I'm that great. I know everything. I'm that good because I knew this would happen. So I'm just the best. So clearly, being just the best means we have this bearish order block here, which we've bounced off of Arbitrum. So where could we see? What's going to happen now? What do we see happening? What do I see happening anyway for the future? So we could have like I was saying with other things, with Ethereum, bouncing off certain things, and Bitcoin might hover a bit, and scenarios like that. We have about $2 as our basic support point for ARB, or $2.02. Now, what I could see happening, which could be very, very accurate, we all kind of understand Bitcoin's going to go up. So the way I can kind of see this going, and if you've watched any of the Simple Signal streams, or maybe not all of them, but in the ones I've explained how the bearish block forms, where in the scenario of you have a huge, a big liquidity forcing the price upwards above the order block, a re-entry back into the order block, and then a bounce back upwards, it causes this breaker block. So what I could see happening is, as Bitcoin the market moves up in general, Arbitrum might break this order block, break us up towards the $2.10 mark, retract back towards $2.08, and then have this huge movement upwards. Now, for the huge movement upwards, where can we see resistance? Well, it seems like we have something of the sort around here at about $2.20. I'm going to put it at $2.20 there. Actually, no, I'm not. Okay, there we go. So we've got resistance there. So we could see something along those lines, but I do want to see if there's anything more consistent I can go off of. Obviously, it's very hairy within this area, so there's probably other resistance points I can't quite see because it's so messy. But that's kind of what I see could happen for ARB if we do see Bitcoin just go up completely. If not, we could have a similar scenario where we might bounce back down to about $2.02, going back upwards towards here, and then Bitcoin tearing upwards to 51.7, breaking this order block and kind of having the same scenario which I've just explained. But looking at Market Cipher, I think I forgot to look at Market Cipher with API. No, what was it that I didn't look at? No, never mind. I'm lying. I don't know what I'm talking about. We have a VWAP it's on the positive side, which is great, but the VWAP doesn't really matter. It doesn't. It's kind of a hairy one. I don't really look at it, especially on the 4. We're on the 1 hour, but on the higher time frames, which we are kind of on right now, it's kind of a hairy situation. We don't really look at it too much, but it is positive, which is good. We have a positive money flow, and it is going upwards very heavily, as we can see, and it is continuously doing that. But it's nowhere near being. So normally with the money flow, it's a lot of a longer process, but it kind of goes like this. Obviously, you can have small dips like this, but it kind of has this scenario where you have these long-winded movements of money. But what we can see here, we could either have a scenario like this, where we bounce off a resistance point, which we kind of have here. We could bounce off resistance, and it go back down to the negative, and then go positive. But if we have the scenario which I've just explained, with Bitcoin and it breaking the order block, we could see ourselves have a really positive money flow, continuously go upwards, and continue this bullish trend upwards. But to point out, we have our what's it called? The momentum. We have a momentum above the 60 arbitrary number range, whatever you call it, looking like it's very close to crossing over, printing out a red dot and changing ourselves to have a bearish momentum. Being above the 60 mark, it means we're quite heavily overbought, which we've seen for Ethereum and Solana anyways. Last time this happened, we were basically at the top of a range, or we went to the bottom of the range. So what we could see here, as I was explaining, where we could have the scenario of we're at the top of the range, we could have our money flow, or we could have a momentum go red and shift, go down to this support point, and then break this, and then have this scenario and go upwards. As I was saying, obviously it does just depend on where Bitcoin goes. But even if we did break the order block before we saw a negative movement in the money flow, or the momentum, sorry, we would probably have a negative movement, enter back into the order block, and then just shoot back upwards to the $2.20 mark. But regardless of however we move, I think we're still going to go upwards. And that's kind of, as I've been saying with everything, that's kind of how I see the market going anyway, as long as Bitcoin goes upwards. So, I think ARB's going to go upwards. In terms of how much movement, we could either see, from where we are right now, about 6.3% move upwards, or if we reach the support point, which I reckon it might do, we could see an 8% rate, 8.2%, 8.1% move upwards. So we have a movement upwards for Arbitrum, so I think it's quite positive. Quickly move on to Litecoin. So Tariq, if you're still awake and here, because I have gone on for about an hour and 26. Normally these streams last for an hour and 26, so gone over a bit, but I've only got 2 more coins. So, Litecoin. Let me do that. There we go. Now look here. I don't know if I've drawn anything anywhere for Litecoin. I don't think I have. So I'm just gonna draw it now. It was looking really rough actually. I don't know why it's. Okay, so this is okay. So this price point. So we've bounced off twice off the 73-cent rate, $73.1 range or dollar area. So that is pretty consistent, just as consistent as we've bounced, once and twice, and we've broken this $72.50. So we've got a really tight area of support and resistance. So the way I normally look at support and resistance like this is when the EMA comes and captures, and some people say this as well. I think Jason Casper looks at this as well in terms of looking at the 21-day EMA, meeting the price at a support resistance point. It's like a pressure cooker where the price can just absolutely shoot upwards or downwards, in either direction. In terms of, we'll quickly look at market cipher. We're overbought, but it's not the 60 mark. So if we see ourselves cross, like for example over here, and this is, I like to show examples as I'm talking. We can see over here, we shifted towards negative bearish momentum, suggesting we were oversold and we were coming back down. We didn't really move too heavy down, especially for the fact we had support, but we weren't at the 60 mark, so it wasn't really as big of a movement as it was here, for example, where we had this. Well, obviously this was about a 1%, and this was also about a longer term 1.4%, maybe no 1.5% move down. So it's a bit more considerable, especially from the fact we had our EMA kind of keeping us up anyway. So it was a lot easier to stay up. But in this scenario, if we did cross right now to be bearish, we wouldn't really go down that much. So we wouldn't. I don't really think we're going to break this support point anytime soon, especially with how bullish everything is. So I think we're going to pressure cook ourselves for Litecoin within this area. And I think, especially with how Bitcoin's going, if we see some more slight movement upwards for Bitcoin, we're going to have a high shootout. We're just going to shoot upwards for Litecoin and break this resistance point. But what's considerable to me with simple significance is that it's a high level. So it only draws like 6 or 8 points of support and resistance. And since this is a high level, it's suggesting to us that we don't have any other high points. So obviously I'm going to have to go back to see if we had anything consistent at any point at high. So obviously we bounced off this point here, or we saw resistance there. I'm trying to look for something more considerable. I think this is pretty considerable at 24.5, or 74.5, sorry. We bounced off it here, came down, broke it, used it as support, came up, and then went down, and then we wicked below it, but we stayed above it, came down, obviously below this support towards resistance, wicked all the way back up, and then came all the way back down, and then we bounced off it twice. So 74.5 seems really considerable as a resistance point. So as I'm going towards back over here, I'm going to use that as a reference. So we've got 74.5 as our resistance point. So for Litecoin, I think we might break this resistance point. Going upwards, we might have a 2% move upwards for Litecoin, and then I don't really see it. We could break it. We could wick upwards towards 76.45. Which could have, from right now, about a 5% move upwards. But I think 74.5 is a really considerable, strong point of resistance for Litecoin, considering, how consistent it was all the way back here, especially, and, like I said with Ethereum, I think Solana, Bitcoin, when the ETF news was coming out, whatever price we wicked, or bounced above or below off, what is going to be a considerable price. So just how 47,000 was a considerable price for me for Bitcoin, and it was true. I think 74.5 is Litecoin's version of what Bitcoin had, especially with and how Ethereum had its own. I think Ethereum had its own, which I think I pointed out, and Solana had its own. It basically the ETF news exposed a considerable price point, which only really occurred during that time to us. So this is going to be really strong. So with Bitcoin, we luckily broke above the 47,000, and it was strong. It's like setting stone. It's like it's like Thanos' glove. But we haven't broken above it for Litecoin, so I think it's going to be quite hard to break above. But if Bitcoin just absolutely tears, we could see ourselves maybe start to staircase up above it. And like I said, have the scenario where we go up to about 5% to 76.5 instead of 74.5. In terms of right now, though, like I said, we're just going to be kind of hovering, I think. I don't really think, we're not really going to break, I mean, we might break up soon, depending how Bitcoin moves. I don't really think we're going to break below the 72.5. So we're going to be within this kind of 1% range for Litecoin. So I don't think anything crazy right now is going to happen. Obviously, when I make up tomorrow, we're on the 1 hour to be fair. So we could have something crazy happen when I'm asleep. Who knows? You know, the market's open 24/7. So let's see what happens when we obviously we're all in different time zones. Again, like I said, with API free and some of the other coins, I will post updates in Telegram showing the charts and how they play it out. So do go check out the Telegram in the descriptions of Binance and YouTube. So I know you're all here, and it's been a journey. Okay, we've been here for quite a while. It's been about an hour and a half. I normally go for an hour and 25, so we exceeded it a bit, but we have covered a lot of coins and in pretty decent detail as well. So the last coin I'm going to be looking at is AVAX. So, you know, if you wanted me to look at a coin, you have had the entire stream to ask me. So I'm not going to look at the coin. So hopefully none of you have any coins outstanding. And if you do, I will be, I think I'm back on Wednesday. I don't think I'm going to the office or doing anything like that. But go to the Telegram, put it in the chat of Telegram, and we'll cover it on Wednesday. But the last coin we're covering is Avalanche. So let's have a quick look. So it seems like we've got these 2 points. I don't know why it's printed out 2, but obviously, you know, whatever. But and seeing as though we're so close, I'm going to go look back quickly. But to save us some time, I'll go quickly look back to see if we've got any consistent support resistance points back in time. I'm seeing an order block rough thing going on here with equal heights of these candles, which we entered here. So if I go backwards, it's quite high and it is quite far back as well. We didn't break it or anything, so it could be. It is quite far back to be fair. So we do have this price point. Okay, it's basically at 43 cents. Well, the midpoint is also really important to look at, but it's basically the $43 area for Avalanche. I'm gonna look at anything else. I mean, we kind of had one at 41.5. I've not really seen too much else. We might have some within here, but I'm not looking at it. Can't find it. I'm gonna look at what's going on right now. I don't want to look too far in the past right now. So let me have a quick look. But actually, again, I will point this one out actually, because this was within the scenario of ETF news and whatnot. We had these huge, movements upwards, and the max price we saw within this kind of time frame was 41.65. So I will point that out as well. So we've got two price area, a price area and a price point for Avalanche. I think this is just going to be the same scenario as well, how it was for the coin we just looked at, Litecoin. I think, which coin was it? It wasn't Step. It might have been Solana. Well, all the coins. There's been a couple scenarios within what we've looked at today, and one of them has been being at a resistance point, a considerable resistance point, with a couple of things keeping us down, with our market cipher kind of pointing towards the upwards end, and having this 50-50 between us keeping within this range which we've been in, or breaking these resistance points and shooting upwards with Bitcoin. But again, it's kind of following, it's followed more of the API free structure rather than Ethereum, Solana. So Ethereum, Solana, and actually Litecoin, they all had 3 consecutive green wicks. But of Avalanche, with API free and Avalanche, it's had 2 green wicks, a red wick, and a green wick. But it's still following the structure. So I'm still going to keep it within the same, kind of idea of if Bitcoin stays above 50K and prints above it multiple times and we continue to go upwards, we'll probably break these resistance points. 41.65 was the Bitcoin's 47,000. So like I said with Litecoin, with the $74.5 range, or the price point being kind of Bitcoin's $47,000, which was, the price it pretty much retracted back to when we had the ETF news and we were wicking all over the place. The consistent price, like I said at the time, and on multiple streams, has been 47,000. So in this case, it's 41.65. Well, 47,000, sorry, and this was 41.65. So it might be something decent to try and break, but we only saw ourselves bounce off it once, so it's nothing really too crazy. So I'm kind of going to pay attention to this $43 range, which will bring us up about 6%, which is pretty good. From where we are right now, roughly about 6% up for Avalanche, which is pretty good numbers, especially for no leverage. But like I've said multiple times, money flow going up, VWAP going up, and positive. We're quite similar with Litecoin. We're not above the 60 number, but we are quite overbought. But so like I said, we could see the two scenarios, like I said, for I think it was Litecoin. Oh no, was it Litecoin? The one where I basically said it would do either this and then go upwards, or break, bounce, and then go upwards. But again, regardless, I think we're going to go upwards. But the movement downwards, again, is a bit more considerable than others, which is about a 5% move downwards in the price. So, if you were to long right now, let's say, which, you could do, you'd have about, let's go from the worst case scenario about there, and that is support point. So you'd have a 1.12 risk to reward, which is, it's not anything crazy, but if you use leverage, it'd still be good. But I would rather wait for it to print above these resistance points. I'd rather wait. I think the takeaway message from today's really long stream has been, I would wait to see what Bitcoin does before I'd enter anything, to see if it stays above 50k and prints multiple times, or not. So like I've said multiple times, if it continues to print above 50k and we stay above, and we're strongly bullish, continue to be, we're going to go above this $41.2 area for Avalanche, stay above it, and then pretty much have a surefire 3% move upwards. So if you did 10x, 30%, it's not terrible. It's pretty good. It's like it's a really good trade. So it just does depend on if you want to look at this or not. So I don't know if you're holding Avalanche or not. If you are holding it, it's hard for me to say if we're going to really go down or not. Again, money flow trumps most things, and we are going up for the money flow, so I don't really think we're going to go too far down. But like I said, with Bitcoin, it all just really does depend on Bitcoin. So I'd keep your eye out for Bitcoin, see how it plays out. I don't know what time zone you're in. I don't know if you can watch it throughout the day, if it's in the morning for you or if it's nighttime. But I'd watch how Bitcoin moves, if it stays above 50k or not, and then trade based off that. Either if you let's say you hold Avalanche, sell Avalanche and buy it back at nearly the 40-cent range maybe, or the $40 range, or the $38 range, sorry. If it stays above 50k and prints at least 1 or 2 candles on the 1 hour or the 4 hour, or maybe like if it prints 4 candles above on the 1 hour, you're pretty safe. Actually, no, that might be a lie. Let me backtrack that. If it stays consistently above 50k, that's all I said. I don't want to put time frames on it. Then look towards keeping it and holding it. Keep on going upwards. But regardless, it depends. If you are long right now, you probably won't get stopped out. It depends on if you want to put stop losses and whatnot. It's only a 1.2, roughly 1.15 ratio, so it's not really anything crazy. So there's been if you trade futures and you're watching right water. Whenever a voice crack happens, my voice is dry. I need water. If you are a futures trader, I would recommend going into our Telegram. Keeping updated with what I post in the trading area. I'm going to be posting how API free goes. If you are going to be doing futures and looking to, if you're going to take, obviously not financial advice, but if you're going to take one trade away from in today's stream, I think it might, for me, in my opinion, would be API free, because it looks pretty promising in terms of the return it's going to give you. If you hold any of these coins, obviously follow the respective advice for dogs and cats, whatever your exact name was. If you hold it, you could play the I don't really care out and just hold it, because I think we're going to break this resistance point and go up here. So you could, if you want to sell soon, put a sell order at the $43 range. But if you want to kind of, if you are futures, like I said, there are better coins we've covered today. But if you do want to look to get into or get out of Avalanche, if you're looking to get in, you could do it now and wait because money flow is going up. But like I said, it does just depend on how Bitcoin moves. If we start to go downwards, we could see ourselves go towards the bottom of our range we see here, and then come back upwards. But the advice I gave a couple minutes ago, wait to see what Bitcoin does, and that's kind of all I'd really say for pretty much all the prices today. But that is finally, we are about 15 minutes over the time I normally end the stream. We have covered, finally, get out, cheers. Okay, yeah. Oh, so you're in it right now. Yeah, so hopefully that kind of cleared. Obviously, not financial advice. Always make your own judgment, but this is kind of how I see the price going. So hopefully, the role I kind of play in this scenario is looking at the data and seeing what I would do with it. So make sure you're doing it off your own bat. It's not my, you're not trading just based on my opinion. But that's kind of how I see Avalanche going. Especially with how Bitcoin's going, and the market is really hard to get in. Really hard to trade right now. Obviously, if you're a professional, you're better than me. Obviously, go ahead. Be my guest. But again, it's quite hard to tell what's going on when we're in a scenario which isn't very structured right now. Because everything's kind of dependent on Bitcoin right now because of how bullish it is. If it's 49.9 or 50 is really huge. So it's not, a lot of the prices we've looked at today, they're not really structured by themselves based on chart patterns or indicators. It's more structured on how Bitcoin is moving, which is kind of how the market is moving. But hopefully, if you made a profit, then that's all that matters. Make sure you take your profits. Make sure you take. That's hurt me one too many times. Make sure you take your profits before you get too greedy, because it happens to me quite a lot. But like I said, coins are over. There's no more. If you want any more coins, I think. If there's a new stream on Wednesday and I'm going to the office, I will still cover it on stream. But if all things are the same right now, I will be doing a trading stream on Wednesday. I'll do it on Binance as well. So if you have any coins you want to cover, go to the Telegram, put it in the trading area, and I will cover it for tomorrow, and I'll put it in my list. I will also update some of these coins. I won't do all these coins, because if I do all these coins I always ever cover, I'm going to end up doing 4-hour streams, and no one wants that. So I will cover some of the coins, maybe API free. I could maybe look at Avalanche. I'll look at a couple of these. But some of especially with Ethereum, Solana, and Litecoin, I think it was, they all kind of have the same candle pattern. So if they all kind of have the same candle pattern, they might all move kind of the same. So I'll maybe look at one which is respective for the others, or quickly glance at all of them. But it doesn't really matter. It'll happen on the day. So if you do want to go join me on Wednesday, I'll put the streams up and whatnot. But do go check the Telegram out. If you do want to post any of the coins you want me to cover on Wednesday, or any news or any updates on, or if you want to ask for any updates on the charts, just ask me, what's the Litecoin chart looking at, let's say. I'll go to it, I'll screenshot it, put it in the chat. But with that all being said, with an hour and 44 minutes of all me chatting, that is the stream. Thank you so much for joining me, especially on the people on Binance. Thank you all of you for joining me on the first ever Simple Signals. I get confused between Simple Significance, because that's obviously the best indicator on TradingView, and now. Thank you for everyone joining on YouTube. It's been great to see all of you. And yeah, I've yapped on for quite a while now. Hopefully, you can take a trade away. Obviously not financial advice. Hopefully, it maybe helped you in any way with my opinion. Not advice or recommendation or anything like that. It's my opinion. None of this is financial advice. That being said, I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to look at the chats quickly to see if anyone's said anything nice or anything. Thanks. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your evening. Thank you for joining the stream. Thank you for thank you for asking a coin. Because I always say, oh yeah, put the coins in the comments, and no one says anything. But yeah, thank you so much. And as a Truman would say, if I don't see you, what is it? Good afternoon, good evening, good night. Goodbye.